We're gonna work on hip mobility and strength, and we're gonna start laying on our backs. So come to laying on your back. Take your arms out to your side, take your legs really wide apart. And then just take a nice deep inhale. Let your arms reach up like a yawn overhead. And then as you exhale, let your arms relax a little bit more. And do that again. Inhale, big stretch, opening up your armpits, reaching your fingertips away from your head as far as you can. And then release and start to bring your arms by your side in a kind of cactus or goalpost type shape like I'm doing right now. So your elbows are bent by your sides, exactly. And from here, drop your knees to one side and then drop your knees to the other side. So it should feel like more pec stretch and more pec opening, front of the chest, front of the shoulder, because of the position of the arms. And just drop your knees a little bit one way and then the other, kind of that thick quality of rotation against the upper body. And then come back to the center of all of that. Keep your arms in this organization and bring your feet a little closer together. And just lift one leg up to tabletop, lift the other leg up to meet it, and just do a few toe taps, lowering one leg towards the floor and then the other going only as far as it feels reasonable. With the arms in this position, it's a little harder to keep the rib cage connection. So feeling like you're softening the ribs down. And a couple more here. And then lowering one leg all the way down and then the other. Take your feet out away from you a little bit further. Reach your arms overhead again, like that yawn quality. Stretch your arms as far away from you as you can. Circle your arms around to your hips and lift your upper body up. Look down over your legs and then reach the arms overhead. Big stretch, your shoulders going back up towards your ears, and then circle the arms around. Kind of an elongated version of your ab prep, circling the arms around. And then as you lower the head down and reach the arms overhead, lift one leg. And as you flex up in your ab prep, lower it down. So you're alternating between legs and marching here, getting everything moving a little bit. And one more each side. Reach the arms overhead and reach one leg up to tabletop. Extend the other leg out long and keep the arms reaching overhead as you stir your thigh bone and your hip socket. So you're circling your leg around. Actively reach your arms away from you as you circle. And reverse, circling around. And then sitting that leg down, slide the other leg out, reach the leg up to tabletop and circle your leg around. Just stirring your thigh bone and your hip socket, trying to stabilize the pelvis as you move. And reverse the direction. And then setting the leg down, you can have the legs bent or straight. Circle the arms around and roll all the way up. Straighten the legs once you get up and do a little pulse over the legs twice. And then roll back down through the spine, reaching the arms overhead and circle the arms around. As always, you can use bands and other modifications if you need to be able to roll up and roll down. And circle the arms around, press out through the legs, flex the feet so your toes are pulling back towards your nose. You do a little pulse, pulse, and pull the legs in as you roll down. One more time, rolling up, and little pulse, pulse, and rolling back down. And take the arms back to that cactus or goalpost kind of shape. Take the feet wide again. Drop the knees to one side and then reach the top arm to straight and roll onto your side further. And then come back to your back, bend the elbow. The other arm reaches overhead as you tip to your side, just making it bigger than what we did before. Rolling over, let your knees drop to the side, reaching the top arm overhead or wherever you can reach it to create some stretch and opening. And one more each way. Reaching, try to keep it moving so it's not a static thing. And then you're going to roll onto the first side, and the top leg will be back, and just bounce that knee up and down a little bit, opening up the outside of the hip. I know it doesn't feel like much, but it is what's happening, kind of releasing tension in the outside of the hip. And then bring the top leg on top of the bottom leg, and both arms are going to reach forward. You're going to do a big circle, reaching up overhead, circling all the way around, creating opposition just twice in each direction. Try to bring your knees to 90 degrees at the hip joint so that you're going to get the maximum opening you can. Big circle around and around. And then you're going to bring your arm back underneath your head. Take your top arm overhead and let it kind of reach so you're like lengthening through this top side of the armpit. If you want to pull on it, you can, but you could just reach it as well. And then lift the top leg up, extend your leg, don't extend your leg, push your leg back and bring it back forward a couple times so you're just hinging at the hip joint. And as you press back, extend the leg towards straight, bend it back in and come back forward. Extend and bend it in and extend, and you'll feel the temptation for the upper body to rotate away from that leg that's extending, and that's fine. Square yourself off and rotate a little. Square yourself off and rotate. Keep your leg off the floor so you're still hovering the foot. And one more time. Hold the leg back behind you. Flex your foot, lift it up as high as you can back there. You're still rotated towards the floor with the upper body, and little pulses up with the back leg. So it should feel like your heel is leading and your leg is internally rotated. Reaching out through the leg. That's good, Anna. Straighten your knee. The back one. The right leg is straight. Your right leg, Anna. Not everybody's right leg, but there we go. And then take it into a circle, nice and high. Small circle, circle. Try to lift your leg up higher than hip height. And reverse the direction of your circles. Make it about the size of a tennis ball. Way up and back behind you. Your pelvis isn't tipping around. It's kind of got a thick quality to your movement. And then bringing that leg back in, bring your arm wherever it's comfortable. Lift the top leg up and extend your leg towards straight in front of you. So you're flexing your foot in front of you. And then bend your leg back in and extend your leg, flex your foot, bend it in. Extend, flex, and bend it in. You're trying to extend it as far towards straight forward as you can without tucking your pelvis under. So try not to make it swing the whole butt under. Yeah, exactly. Sweep the leg, lengthen through your spine, try to get out of that kind of fetal shape. And extend the leg towards straight, flex the foot, hold the leg here, and lift the lower in front of you. Lift and lower in front of you. The leg is straight, reaching out through the side and the back of the hip. Good. And then taking it into those small circles, leading with the heel, circling around and around. And reversing your circles. And then bend your leg back in. Putting this kind of together, you're going to extend that leg forward like you just did, flexing your foot. Sweep the leg all the way back to that back extended place. Bend the leg and sweep through. As you do this a few times, try to feel the height of the leg is staying the same through the whole range. And once your leg is back behind you, try to leave your thigh where it is as you bend your leg. Leave your thigh where it is to open the front of the hip. Good. And 2 more. And the last one. And then bringing your leg back down. Take your top arm back overhead. And then just push down through the bottom arm and lift your head a little bit. Doesn't feel very like you can go very far. And then lower back down. Do that a couple times so you're lifting up a little bit, trying to use your waist. And we're going to add to this in a minute. And lift up a little. And one more time, lift up, push down through the bottom arm, and then lower back down. Rotate your chest to the ceiling, and then square yourself back off to the side. Rotate your chest to the ceiling, square yourself off to the side. Good. And try to rotate far enough and pull your ribs back enough that you feel a little bit of opening. And you're going to stay in this rotated to the ceiling place. Reach the top leg forward like we just were, with it reaching straight forward as much as it can. And then lift and lower the leg there. And with each lift and lower, see if on the lower, you can let your ribs sink a little further into rotation. Lift and lower, lift and lower. Lift and lower, 4, 3, and last one. And then bring your leg back in, push yourself up and swing your legs around to the other side. So starting with the laying on the side, reaching the top arm forward and just rotating the torso open twice in each direction, create opposition with that top leg. Big circle. Bring your knees right in front of your hips so that they're 90 degrees at the front of the hip. And you should have about one more big circle around. And then you're going to take your arm, bottom arm under your head, top arm reaching overhead. You can think of that like pulling feeling. So you're trying to create length through the top side of the waist. Lift the top leg up and just take the leg forward and back a couple times, flexing at the hip. And then add that little lengthening back behind you. Bend it in, bring it forward. Push back, lengthen the leg, bend it in, bring it forward. For your hip, it should feel like the opposite of sitting at a chair. When your leg is back, and then when your leg is forward, it is pretty much the same as sitting in a chair. And allow your upper body to add a little bit of rotation towards the floor. As the leg goes back, rotate towards the floor. Using that top arm to reach and create a little bit more opposition. That's right. Kind of moving through honey quality so you have a little bit more thickness to the movement. And then you're going to stay with the leg back, flex the foot, and just lift and lower the leg behind you, as far behind you as you can comfortably, connecting through your abdominals. Your upper body can still rotate towards the floor. Little lift, lower, kind of carving out that outer hip area and kind of connecting into that lateral line of the body as the leg goes down. So it should feel kind of like an opening almost as the leg goes down, and work as the leg goes up. Take it into that circle as high as you can get the leg. Circle that leg up back and back behind you. Up and back, up and back. Connect into your abdominals so you're not just hanging out there. And then reverse your circles, about the size of a tennis ball, thick and small, reaching. Yeah. If your arm is getting tired by being held off the floor, you can touch the floor. It's a little easier. And then bring your leg back in. Lift your leg up and extend the foot forward so you're flexing and bending. Extend, flex the foot, bend it back in. Try not to lead with the knee being down and the foot being up so that you have that parallel line. There we go. That's good, Marie. And reach forward, flex the foot. Reach forward, flex the foot. And then hold the leg forward on the next one and little up, down, lift lower. As you're doing this, stay long through the top side of the waist so you're not collapsing, and circling the leg. Try to keep it small enough and thick enough that you don't wobble around. And reverse. And then bringing your leg back in. Take your arm back overhead, rotate your torso to the ceiling, and then back to the side. Do that a couple times. Rotate towards the ceiling, and then back to the side. And then come back to the side, lift the top leg up, extend your leg forward, flex your foot, full sweep of the leg back. You can allow the upper body to rotate towards the floor as the leg goes back, and a little bit more towards the ceiling as the leg comes forward. I think your body will naturally want to do that, so you can allow that. And sweeping the leg, trying to get the leg to bend with the thigh staying still behind you. Sweeping and sweep the leg. Two more. And last one. And bring your leg back on top. Bring your top arm down your side. Start with it overhead. And then as you try to lift your head, bring your arm down along your side and then lower back down. And think of trying to pull yourself up, and there is some push through that bottom arm. Not very much room to move, but we'll add to this over time. And just twice more, little lift and a little lift. Good. And then set yourself back down. We have one more thing here. So reach your arm back overhead, reach your top leg forward, rotate your chest to the ceiling, and do that little lift lower of the front leg, the top leg, the straight leg, with the rotation of the torso. So your upper body is rotated towards the floor, lift lower, lift lower. Imagine if there was a ball underneath your foot and it was kind of bouncing your leg back up. With each exhale, see if you can sink the ribs a little further into rotation. As the leg goes down, you're exhaling and thinking of rotating through a little further. And then coming all the way back to the side. Take your top leg, sweep your top leg back, keeping it bent, and just do that bouncing of the top knee. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Your foot's on the floor. You're just kind of playfully allowing it to go up and down. Try not to control it. It's not a lift and a lower. It literally is like a playful bounciness. So one bounce should sort of perpetuate more bounces. Try to get your foot back behind you So like the back foot is more towards the back of the mat. Yeah, we're trying to get a little opening through the IT band. The idea that you can stretch your IT band or the lateral side of your leg is pretty unscientific. And so really the way we open it is by doing movement. And then bring your leg back and push yourself up. Come onto your hands and knees. And just shift your weight forward and back a few times, opening up your fingers really wide, really big. Yeah. And then turn your fingers to face more the side and do the same thing. Shift back and forward, just kind of opening up our wrists. Turn your fingers to face as far back as you can. You probably won't go very far. That's okay, as long as it feels okay. Just kind of opening up your wrists a little bit. Yeah. And then turn the fingers to face in. And you should be able to move a little bit bigger again. And coming back to the center, turn your fingers back forward. Reach one leg out to the side. Doesn't matter which one. One leg out to the side. The opposite arm will reach out to the side. And you're going to thread your upper body under, rotate, and then reach back out to the side and rotate up to the ceiling. Yeah, so let your pelvis move. You'll feel more opening through your inner thighs. Rotate to the ceiling. Yeah, good. That looks great, everyone. Open, and one more time. And then keep your straight leg where it is and put both hands back down. And from here, take a little bit more weight into your hands and take your hands a little further forward than you had them before. And I want you to lower down onto towards your elbows and then press your arms back up. The further you get your hands away from you, the more work this is for your triceps and your upper body. So you're just hinging at the hips. The body isn't going forward and back. The elbows are just going down and up. Down and up, yeah. Elbows kind of pointing back towards the pelvis. And then bring the elbows down, keep them down there, and shift your weight onto the standing leg. Lift that leg up behind you, and then touch it back down to the side where you just picked it up from. Hard to do, lots of abs, so you might not be able to literally go this full range that you just were doing, but you're trying. So you're kind of touching the floor to the side and then lifting way up and back. Keep your legs straight, touch the floor as far to the side as you can, lift up and back. That's right. Trying to keep your hips in the middle as much as possible. Touching the side, up and back. Touching the side, up and back. And hold your leg up and back behind you. Push your arms back up to straight. And now you're gonna lower your elbows down most of the way to the floor, but not all the way, and have the elbows point slightly out. Yeah. So it should feel like your arms are working really hard to hold you in this kind of low hover position with the torso. You're gonna do a little pulse of the leg behind you, little lift lower. So the elbows are hovering maybe an inch or so. Awesome, Nancy. And little lift lower, lift lower. Hopefully you feel both hips working to help you be here. If it gets to be too hard, just straighten your arms or put your elbows all the way down. Bend your leg in, push your leg back out. Yeah, and now as you bend in, straighten your arms. As you push out, bend your elbows and almost touch the floor. Bend in, lower down, straighten, pull in. It doesn't really matter to me, the coordination of it, except you won't have room to be down with your elbows and bring your knee down at the same time. So make room for your knee by straightening the arms as you come in. Press the leg out, pull it in. Think of something behind you you're trying to push away from you. Push out, pull in, push out. Good, Dana, keep going. And 2 more. And last one. And then bring that leg back down, sit back towards your heels, push yourself into that little shell stretch. Take your hands over to one side and offset your hips to the opposite side. So you're kind of shifting your hips to one side so you get a big stretch from fingertips to the hip. And then take your hands to the other side, shift your hips the other way, big stretch. And then coming back to your hands and knees, whichever leg you didn't have reaching out to the side first, now we're gonna reach that leg out to the side. The opposite arm is gonna reach out to the side. We're gonna thread the needle under, rotate towards the ceiling and up to the ceiling, let the pelvis move so you feel some opening through the inner thighs. So in both directions, you're trying to look up to the ceiling as much as you can. One, you're crossing under the arm, and the other, you're opening away from the midline. Yeah, exactly, nice. Try to lengthen your spine so that you're not in a cat back, but you're really lengthened and long. Oh, that looks better. Yeah. And some of you, it might just be your knee and your hand are too close together and it kind of crunches you up. If you just create a little more length for your torso, it'll work better. One more time. Keep the leg out to the side, step your hands a little bit forward. If you need to move that standing knee a little bit to the middle, you can. Just lower your elbows down and push your elbows back up a few times. Figure out where that sweet spot is that you can feel some work through the arms as you lower and lift, hinging. Yeah, focus on bending the elbows. Some of you are kind of going back with the whole body. So bend the elbow to lower the elbow down, straighten the elbow to lift it back up. Yeah, that's right, Amy. Good elbow too, yeah. Use your shoulders. Your face, if you're looking down at the mat, your face is essentially staying in the same place. You're not shifting weight back to go down. One more time, let the elbows sit down. Try to shift your weight onto that standing side to lift your leg up behind you, and then tap your foot down to the side and lift the leg up behind you and see if you can get all the way to the side. Try to get your pelvis centered as much as you can. And of course, you're trying to not drop the leg, which requires a lot of abdominal control as it gets further out to the side. Lift and lower to the side and lift up and back. Awesome. And lower. And 4 more. Hold the leg up and back behind you. Push yourself up on the straight arms. Lower your elbows almost to the floor with them not pointing straight back. They're kind of on a little diagonal, and little pulses of the leg up. Shoulders are level, little pulse up. Hopefully you're feeling something through that standing hip. Maybe elsewhere too. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Then we're gonna straighten the arms as the leg comes underneath. Lower the elbows as you reach back. So you're still doing that kind of not straight back, not straight side elbow position. Exactly. Make sure you're bending the elbows, not just sinking between your shoulders. Yeah, pull the knees in, push the leg out, pull it in, push out. Last one. And bring your leg back in. Set your knee down, little push back into your shell stretch. However it feels good to you. And then we're going to come to sitting. So straighten your legs out in front of you. You can do it with bent knees, but it's a little harder to keep the legs stable. So if you can, straighten them all the way out. Put your fingertips on the floor behind you to help you, and lean back as little as possible so you're as vertical as possible. Imagine there's a yoga block between your feet. You're going to lift one leg off the floor and touch it to the outside edge of the mat, and then bring it back in center. And then the other leg goes out to the side, and then you bring it back out to the side and bring it back. And now imagine if there's like a can of soup there, you were trying to lift over it to go to the side. So you're trying to lift up to the side. Yeah. And bring it back. And if you can, get rid of the arms helping you. It should feel like you have to work pretty hard to keep the torso as vertical as possible. So you're trying not to lean back in order to do it. Yeah. A little lean is one thing, but up and over, up and over, up and over, up and over. Good. Each time you lift the leg, try not to lean back to lift and then sit back up. A little bit of a cheat. If you have to lean back, you can, but some of you are leaning back more than I think you need. Yeah. And one more each side. Strengthening our hip flexors. They need to be strong and mobile. And then reach your legs a little bit wider apart, both of them kind of towards the edges of the mat. You can have bent knees if you need to, and reach your arms out to the side. We hardly ever do saw, but I want to do it today. So you're going to rotate your upper body to one side. Let your back shoulder spin in, flex forward, do a little pulse over the legs, stack back up and center off. This is one of those exercises that you get as much out of it as you put into it. So it could just be you flopping around, kind of getting a little hamstring stretch. I want it to be more abdominal. So you're trying to pull back on the abs as you do that flexing forward. So you get taller as you rotate, you reach and you kind of think of sawing off your toe. And then you stack back up nice and tall and center off. And you center, back thumb rotates down. So your arms make a big long diagonal. Yeah, good, Bobby. And up and center off. And rotate, little pulse. Pulse, hopefully as you've done a couple, you feel like you're going in a bigger range of motion. Still with control, but bigger range. And one more time, rotating, little pulse, and coming back through and back to the center. Good. You can lay back down on your back and take your arms wherever they're comfortable. Shake it out for a second. I want to do shoulder bridge. So feet in line with the sit bones, nothing under your head. Lift your hips up like you have helium balloons attached to the front of the hips to pick the hips up. And then crease at the front of the hips to lower back down. So you're not moving the waist stays the same. You could do this with a corset on and you'd still be able to connect and move in fully because it's just moving at the hip joint. And then if you want to add to this, you could lift one foot into a low hover, or we'll do the full version of the exercise. Here we go. So you lift your hips up. Extend one leg to the ceiling, flex down, point up, flex down, point up 3 times. Try to keep the hips up and bend your legs, set the foot down. The other leg lifts up and down and up. 2 and 3, bend the leg, set the foot down. One more time each side. lift up, lower, lift, lower, lift. Try to move through your ankle, your foot, your toes, and down and up. One last one. And set your foot back down, crease at the hips, lower back down. We're going to repeat that one more time. Press your hips up, extend one leg, and down and up. Trying to make it one continuous motion, down and up. And set your foot down, lift the other foot up. Down one, down two, down three. Set the foot down, lift the other leg, and down, up, down, up. This is the last one. Bend the leg, set the foot down. Last side, down and up. 2 and 3. Bend your leg, set your foot down, set your pelvis back down. Bring your feet wider apart and a little bit away from your pelvis. Not too far, but just a little bit. Bring your knees in towards each other to roll up, hip roll. And then take your knees apart to articulate your spine back down. So your knees are going towards each other and away from each other as you roll through the spine. Knees go towards each other, roll up, and knees away. You might feel a nice opening through the outer lateral side of the leg as you squeeze your knees together and roll up. Squeeze them towards each other. And one more time. Rolling up and rolling back down. Awesome. Roll onto your side. Lay in one straight long line. Stack your shoulders, your ribs, your hips. Legs parallel. Point and lift the top leg up. Lift the bottom leg up to meet it, and then both legs lower together. If you can, try to lift and not tip backwards with the lift of the second leg. Yeah, exactly. Lift, lift, and lower, and kind of check in with your shoulders, your ribs, your pelvis. They're all stacked right on top of each other. Straighten the legs and try to keep the bottom leg from turning out so it's not leading with the back of the leg. It's the inseam of the leg. Makes it a lot easier if your bottom leg is turned out. Like Alva, see if you can make the bottom leg more parallel. It's like you have to balance on that bony greater trochanter more, and so it's harder to stabilize. Good, and then both legs are gonna lift and lower together. Trying to feel the top side of your waist working to hold you up. Lift and lower, lift, lower. Squeeze some part of your leg together. It doesn't matter to me if it's your feet, your ankles, your inner thighs. Depends on your legs. And good. Hold the legs up and little pulse. Up, 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 up. 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then lower your legs back down. Roll onto your stomach. Turn your legs out so your legs are reaching towards the corners of the mat. You can bring your hands into your forehead to start. Keep your belly button lifted away from the floor as much as you can. You should feel your glutes turn on to be able to push the pubic bone down and pull up on the abs. And then reach so far out of one leg that it can't help but float a little bit off the floor, like an inch or so. If it's lifting a lot more, then most likely it's parallel. So keep it turned out. Maybe reach one hand back there and touch your glute as you lift that side. It should feel like the ladder rotators, your glute max is working in order to stay turned out to lift the leg. If it goes to parallel, it's just a very different feeling in the hip. Good. And reach out through your leg. Keep your knees straight. Keep turned out. And keep turned out to try to lift. And then keep your abdominal connection. You can always go back to the single leg version if it goes into your lower back in a negative way. but you're gonna try to reach out through both legs, lift both legs into a low hover off the ground without sinking into the curves of your spine. So I shouldn't see your low back curve more towards the floor and your upper back hunch more towards the ceiling. Nothing really changes through the spine. You're just reaching out through the legs. Good, keep them in that low hover and then see if you can bring your legs towards each other and apart, towards each other and apart, towards each other and apart. Stay turned out, stay turned out, stay turned out. Yes, your thighs are dragging on the floor. Good. Little pulse, pulse, pulse. Should feel like the back of the legs are working evenly to come towards the midline. And then reach through the legs, lower the legs back down. Bring your arms into that W position so your hands are relatively close to your shoulders. Your glutes are still working. You're going to start to look forward and kind of undo some of the curve of the upper back. And then you can continue to come up as far as you feel comfortable, and then lengthen and lower all the way back down. And get longer out through the top of the head. Start to come up as far as you feel comfortable. And then keep that sense of reaching the feet away from the top of the head as you lower down. Do this twice more. Lengthening through the spine, lifting yourself up. And lengthening and lowering back down. Send your heart forward and start to lift yourself up. And lengthen all the way back down. Good. Bring your legs back together. Push yourself back into your shell stretch. Grounding your back a second. And then we take our heads to the other end of the mat. So you're laying on your second side. Laying in one long line. Stack your shoulders, your ribs, your hips. Lift the top leg up, lift the bottom leg to meet it, and then both lower together. Lift, lift, and lower. Lift, lift, lower. Good. Keep connecting the ribs back and into your torso so you're not letting them pop forward on you. The distance between the bottom ribs and the pelvis stays the same as the legs are moving. Good. As you lift the second leg, try not to slightly let the hips tip backwards. Last one. Both legs lift and lower together. As big a range as you can make, trying to keep the abdominals connected. Trying to not let the hips fall backwards. Yeah, that's better. Good. And then hold the legs up in little pulses. Reaching through the legs, keeping the top of the head, reaching away from the pelvis and the feet. And then lower your legs down and roll onto your stomach. And rotate your legs turned out, reach your arms overhead. So you're in a narrow X shape. And reach out through one leg and lift the opposite arm and the torso, and then lower that back down. And the opposite arm and leg, and the head lifts a little. And do that a couple times. Get longer to bring yourself up. And if you'd like to go into the full swimming, you'd reach the arms and legs away from each other to float everything off the ground. And then opposite arm and leg goes a little higher. And you go as fast as you can keep from wobbling all over the place. Trying to find that cross pattern of opposite arm to leg. Another moment here. And then reach out really long and lower all the way back down. Push yourself back into sitting. And we're going to do a little teaser practice here because we've been working on our teasers. So if you put your feet down on the floor in front of you and you sit up kind of on top of your sits bones, it should feel pretty hard to lift your feet off the ground, like almost impossible without tipping over, right? So you're gonna round to the back of your sitting bones and curl round your lower back, kind of flatten the curve of your lower back, and then lengthen through your upper back. So people talk about the spine like it's a J shape because the pelvis is tucked under and the rest of the back is long. So now reach the arms up overhead and lower the arms back down in front, and lift the arms and lower the arms. So as you lift, I don't want to see the body coming up or you're kind of losing that teaser position. So your body stays in the same position. Look towards the horizontal, look more up towards the ceiling. Look towards, well, not the ceiling, where the wall and the ceiling meet, that kind of high diagonal. One more time. Keep the arms overhead and now try to roll down really slowly. Good, so that's the position we're gonna come up to. You're trying to not sit all the way up. The arms come forward, you roll up through the spine, stop back of the sits bones, lift the eyes, lift the arms, lengthen into that J curve, and then roll back down to your spine. Awesome, and reach the arms forward. If you're struggling with the roll up or the roll down, try not to sit all the way up there, Anna and others. Yeah, if you're struggling with the roll up or the roll down, reach your arms forward, they'll help. If you want it to be harder, reach the arms overhead. So like letting your arms come forward as you roll down helps you a little bit or a lot. And reach forward and roll up through the spine. Lift the eyes, lift the arms. Don't sit all the way up or it's cheating. Rolling back down. And one more time, bring the arms forward. Roll up to just back of the sits bones. Lengthen the eyes, lift the head, and then roll back down. Hug your legs into your chest for a second. So hopefully that felt like abdominals. So you can do, we're just gonna do 4 more. You can do 1 more set of 4 of what we just did. Or some of you might like to try it with the legs lifted to tabletop. So the legs will have to move a little bit out of the way once you roll up, or you won't be able to get up. So try not to kick them, but you're trying to reach them a little bit away from you. So arms come forward, you roll up to just back of the sits bones, you lift the eyes, you lift the arms, and then you roll back down, trying to leave the legs on that little bit of diagonal you created. Yeah, exactly. And reach the arms forward, roll up. Hey, that's good. Yeah, and then roll back down. Awesome. And bringing the arms forward as you roll up. Lift the arms, lift the eyes into that J shape and roll back down. And last time, rolling up to just back of the sit bones. Lift the arms, lift the eyes, and roll back down through your spine and rest. Cool. Come over onto your hands and knees again and bring your knees underneath you into leg pull front prep. So legs together, neutral spine, push the floor away with the upper body so you're connected around the shoulders, and then hover your knees into a low hover. And then set your knees back down. Try as you lift your knees off the ground again to not let your head drop as you do that. So you hover the knees up, the head stays part of the spine, which is in that long line. Good. And then set it back down. Awesome. So then from here, keeping the knees down for a minute, reach one leg out behind you, round your back as you pull your knee underneath you, lengthen out to neutral. Round your back to pull your knee underneath you, lengthen out to neutral. One more time. Round your back, cat back as the knee comes under, reach the leg and the head away from each other. Switch legs, knee comes under, reach out, knee comes under, flatten the spine, reach out, and knee comes under, and reach out, and then set your knee down. So your choices would be to be doing more leg pull front prep where you're just hovering the knees, or keep the knees down and do what we just did, which was moving the legs, or you're going to combine those two things and do the leg reaching out and in a hover. Your choice. Here we go. Hover your knees up, reach one leg out behind you, round your back as your leg comes in, reach out, round, reach out, round, reach out. Last one. Switch legs, stay as low as possible. Round, reach out, round, reach out, round, and last one. And set your legs back down. We're gonna do one more set of that now that you know what we're doing. Obviously, it's tempting to let your butt get higher and higher because it makes it a little easier. Try to stay as low as you can. Okay, 4 on each side. Here we go, hovering the knees up, reach one leg out, round the back in, reach it out, pull it in 2, and 3, and 4, bring the leg down, get low again, round, reach, 2, 3, and 4, and set your knees back down. Awesome. And from here, we're gonna come up to kneeling. Trying to open the front of the hips. So bring one hand to the back of your glute or the back of your leg, whatever you can reach easily. Reach the other arm up, push the hips forward, connect your glutes and lift up and back. Your arm should feel like it's supporting you, and then come back up to vertical. And the arm reaches back, you switch, and you go up and back. And should feel like you're very supported here. Yeah, so you're thinking about lifting through the front of the body more than trying to go backwards. Exactly, lifting, and one more each side. Lift, up and back, and lift, up and back. And bring your hands back down to the floor. Bring your feet down onto the floor, walk your hands back towards your feet. Round your spine, shake your head a little like you're saying no, and then like you're saying yes. Bend the knees, start to roll yourself up to standing. Step back if you have, so you have a lot of mat in front of you. Nod your chin, you're gonna roll down to the floor. Walk your hands out 4 steps to get into your plank. 1, 2, 3, 4. Lift one leg up. Set it back down. Lift the other leg up, set it down. Lift up, set it down. Lift up, set it down. Round your spine. Walk your hands back towards your pelvis. Drop the back of the pelvis and roll up to standing. And we repeat that again. Rolling down through the spine. Walk one hand out. 1, 2. You're in your plank. 3, 4. Lift one leg. Try to keep the leg where it is and pull your knee in. And then reach back out. Pull in. Reach out. Try to keep the hips low. Bend it in. And bend it in. One more. Bend it. Reach out. Round your spine. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Drop your head. Drop the back of the pelvis. Start to roll yourself up to standing. Once you're standing, bend your knees, straighten your legs. Feel like you create opposition to float the heels away from the floor. Lower the heels back down. One more time. Bend the knees, straightening, just connecting everything that we've worked on to bring you into good standing posture. Good. You guys are all done. Good job. Thank you so much.